We are good to go now. All right. Let's go back to elementary school. And I believe it's like third grade when we learned to divide polynomials. And I totally blew it and did not white this part out. Is it whited out on yours? Some of them that I might be in. So the digital probably isn't. And the whatchamacallit, the so white kind of we're gonna know why it's that number in a minute, okay? All right. I left some vocabulary there. I don't hardly ever use the vocabulary. In fact, if you quizzed me and asked me what was underneath the division sign, I probably would not automatically come up with the word dividend, even though that's what it is, because I very rarely use that. I know the answer is the quotient, okay? Just like I know multiplication's answer is the product. But and then we're going to talk about remainders. We're not doing decimal points, okay? Because in polynomials, we don't have decimal points, at least not when we're talking about the variables part. So we're going to refresh our memory on just how long division works. All right. So first of all, I'm looking at how many times 12 probably goes into 27. How many times do you guys think that happens? 2. So I put the 2 up here. And then what do I have to do with the 2 and the 12? We have to multiply. Okay, so what's 2 times 12? 24. Good. And then what operation do I have to do? Then I do subtraction. So it's 27 minus 24. 3. And then do you remember how you drop that? You bring an arrow down. You don't have to draw the arrow, but you bring an arrow down, you drop that 7 down. Okay. Then how many? Now we have to figure out how many times does 12 divide 37? 3. Okay, so I put the 3 up here. Actually, I'm going to do this in a different color. Put the 3 up there. 3 times, now I have to multiply by 12 again. 3 times 12 is what? 36. And what operation do I do again? Subtraction, and my remainder is 1. Remember how we used to do this thing? Put the R1 up there, right? Way back to like third grade. I don't know if they do that in third grade anymore, but that's how I used to do it when I was in third grade. Although back in my day, that was probably like fourth or fifth grade. So the that's basically the process: is you figure out what divides, okay? You multiply, you subtract. Figure out what divides, multiply, subtract. We're gonna use that same exact pattern doing polynomials, okay? So it's no different than third grade long division, except that we're going to use variables, okay? I'm not going to use some of their instructions. I'm not going to use this write the result business, okay? So don't worry about it. I'm going to show you exactly how I want the answer to look, okay? I'm not going to do the multiplication, addition, check thing they're talking about there. We're just going to divide using long division, okay? So whatever is first in front of the division sign, that's what goes inside the division bar, okay? Make sure you're careful because we're working on square roots at the same time, right? These two symbols are very different. They mean different things, okay? So make sure with the long division you use the little, it looks like there's a parentheses there versus a V, okay? So make sure you're paying attention to that. All right. So I'm just going to write this down. So 4x cubed plus 2x squared plus 3x plus 5. This piece here is going to go on the outside because that's what I'm dividing in. X squared plus 3x plus 1. If you forget the order, okay, the one with the higher exponent should go inside, okay? So that's something you may want to write and remind yourself in the left-hand column. It's either the one that's in front of the divide sign or the one with the higher exponent is what should go inside. All right, it's kind of similar to the box a little bit that we've been doing, all right? I need to know what times x squared, or how many times does x squared divide 4x cubed? So I'm doing this, right? So what do I get when I divide that out? 4x. Good. Now, our multiplication is a little bit fancier than it was in elementary school. We're not just going to multiply, we're going to do what we call distribute. Okay, so I'm going to multiply this by all 3 of those terms. Okay, so what's 4x times x squared? 4x cubed. Good. What's 4x times 3x? Do you see how I'm placing it underneath the other squared so it's vertically lining up with the like term? 4x times 1. 4x. Okay. What operation was I supposed to do? Subtract. Okay, so here's what really is happening. Okay, so don't write this down, just watch for a minute. Really what I'm doing is I'm subtracting that entire polynomial. If I have to put parentheses around it, what does that mean I'm doing with that negative sign? Distributing. So really what we're doing is, can't I just switch all the signs? Okay, so the way we kind of take the shortcut on subtraction, subtract means we're going to switch all signs. Switch signs. Okay. Okay. Let's add vertically the columns what we have. Okay. What's 4x cubed minus 4x cubed? Okay, now there's a lot of stuff we have to write down. If it's 0, I'm going to just skip it and not write it. Okay. All right. What is 2x squared minus 12x squared? Good. What's 3x minus 4x? Good. And at the same time, I'm going to drop down whatever my next thing is. All right. Now I am looking at how many times does x squared divide negative 10x squared? What do we think? Just 10 times? Good. We want that sign to be the same, right? 10 times, negative 10 times. All right. What's my next step? What did we have to do next? Distribute. It's our fancy word for multiply, right? Okay, so negative 10 times x squared is? Good. Negative 10 times 3x is? Good. And negative 10 times 1 is? Negative 10. All right. We're going to subtract, or what are we going to do in algebra 2? We're going to switch the signs. Do you see how now they're all negative? So what are we going to make all of them? Positives. Good. And it might be some go to negative and some go to positive. Okay. It could be, they don't all have to be the same. All right. Every time we do this, we set it up so this first term should cancel. It should always be 0. Okay. Did we get it 0 again? Yeah. Okay. Negative x and positive 30x. 29x. Okay. And then 5 plus 10. Good. I cannot divide an x squared into an x, right? I would make a negative exponent, right? So I'm not going to do that. So we stop here. That's the remainder. But we have a really fancy way to write this, okay? So to write the remainder, I'm okay with you leaving your answer up here. In Desmos, or in Otis, you're going to have to type it in. But you put a plus sign. We write this. We're going to write it as a fraction. It's 29x plus 15 divided by whatever's out front. X squared plus 3x plus 1. Okay. It's not that it's hard, right? It's a pain because we're doing long division. Nobody likes long division. Poor long division. We do actually see this come back in calculus. Okay, there is one place where it does come back to us. So, all right. Let's take a look at this one. Okay. There is a little bit of a twist we have to deal with here. Okay. I want you to look at, so you notice how this is 4th power cubed, 1st power constant. Okay. Look at this one. Cube squared, 1st power constant. What's the big difference here? Skipped one, right? So because we have the nature of this thing where we have to line these things up with like terms, if we have one that skips, we have to add it in, okay? So sometimes before I write it out, if I notice one that's skipping, I'll just put 0, whatever it is, x squared. I have to take it into account, okay? You'll see why here in just a second once we kind of get this one going. All right, so underneath my division sign is the one with the higher exponent, or the ones in front of the old school division sign, right? All right, so 6x to the 4th plus 5x cubed plus 0x squared plus 2x plus 8. And then on the outside, we're putting x squared plus 2x minus 5. All right. So we got to divide now, right? How many times does x squared divide 6x to the fourth? Good. Remember, you're subtracting those exponents. If it helps you and you need to think about it this way, that helps you see it better, then do some scratch work to the sign. All right. What's my next step? We got to distribute. Good. So 6x squared times x squared is? Good. Remember, when we multiply, we add the exponents. 6x squared times 2x is? Good. 6x squared times negative 5 is? Good. All right. What are we supposed to do? What's the algebra 2 shortcut? Change the sign. So negative, negative, positive. Do you see how I don't write anything for the pluses? I just leave it? Because then I can see that it's a negative really easy. All right. In the first one should cancel. Is that true? Yep, that's how we set it up, right? 5x cubed minus 12x cubed is what? I heard negative 7x cubed. Good. 0x squared plus 30x squared. 30x squared. Do you see how if we didn't have that 0, we would have had nowhere for this to go to? Does that make sense? That's why we had to have that 0 in there. If not, we would have possibly put it under 2x, and then we've been trying to add unlike terms. That doesn't work. Okay. I'm just going to drop the next term in line. I'm going to save that one to the end. If I want to drop it now, I can. But I've only got a trinomial here, so I'm going to only end up with a trinomial here. Okay. All right. Let's ask ourselves, how many times does x squared divide negative 7x cubed? Negative 7x. Good. Okay, what's our next step? Distribute. Good. So negative 7x times x squared is? Negative 7x cubed. Perfect. And I always redo that one. Even though I know I set it up, I want to make sure I set it up right, so it's my check. Okay. Negative 7x times 2x is? Negative 14x squared. Good. Negative 7x times negative 5 is? 35x. Perfect. All right. What do I have to do? Change the sign. So plus, plus, minus. Not done yet, right? I got to keep going until I've run out of stuff here. Okay. The good news is it's not like decimal points where we can keep going and going and going. Okay. Once I run out of polynomial, I know I'm done. All right. 7x cubes cancel. What's 30x squared plus 14x squared? 44x squared. 2x and negative 35x. Good. And then we're also going to drop that 8 down. Okay. Now we're going to ask ourselves, how many times does x squared divide 44x squared? 44. Perfect. All right. So we're going to distribute. 44 times x squared is? Good. 44 times 2x. 88x. Perfect. 44 times negative 5. It's okay if you need to open up a Desmos tab and get a calculator going. Anybody got it? 220 negative, right? Because we had a negative 5. Everybody good with that? Okay. What's the algebra 2 step now? Change the signs, which is basically distributing in a negative 1 for subtraction. Okay, our x squareds cancel. We expected that. What's negative 33x and negative 88x? Negative 121x. What's 8 plus 220? 220. And I cannot go anymore, right? I ran out of stuff here. I cannot divide an x squared into here. That means this weird, ugly thing is the remainder. Okay? So I am going to put a plus here. And then I'm going to go negative 121x plus 228 divided by whatever's out front there. X squared plus 2x minus 5. Now, I purposely picked on ones that have the remainder because that's probably where you need practice. If you can get to here, I know you can do one that doesn't have a remainder if I gave you one without a remainder. Okay, so you can do one with a remainder. You can definitely do one without a remainder. All right, we still have 34. Oh, we're close to time. Okay. Right now, answer that reflect statement. We've got enough time to do that. Okay, read that to yourself. Answer that reflect statement. What did we just do in that last problem? Let's get that written down so we don't forget it for tomorrow. Okay. Hopefully we put something down about if there's a missing term, you want to make it 0 of that term, right? So if there is a missing term, include that term with a 0 coefficient. If it's along those lines, in your own words, that's perfectly fine. Okay? All right. All I want you to do before we go, okay, is we're going to get it set up. We're not going to do the problem. We're just going to get it set up for tomorrow. Okay? So we're ready to do this one as soon as we walk in. Look at this right here. Is there anything missing? X squared is missing. So what do I put in for x squared? Good. All I want you to do is fill in here, and then you're done for today. Okay? There is some homework out there. I did some Delta math. You should actually be able to do it. Okay? And I'm going to split this one into 2 separate assignments. So there's like a day 1 and a day 2. You probably have plenty to do it. We'll probably do one kind of together, maybe one on your own, and then we're going to learn a different type of division tomorrow, and hopefully get through the rest of this lesson. Okay? So once you've got that written out, you're ready for tomorrow and you can clean up.